Wonderful. All is set. So we are starting our CISSP journey, and last week we have done couple of progress. I think slowly and gradually we will reach to the end, and I'll cover all the relevant domains. So last week we were at least privilege and need to know. Then again today we will continue from there. So we have vision, mission, as well as strategy. For any of the organizations, these three words are very important from overall company business perspective and their perspective also. So what exactly is vision, mission, and strategy? In general, mission statements define what an organization is currently doing, while a vision statement is the ultimate goal for which or ultimate target which they want to achieve. The strategy tell the organization or it define the methodology as how the organization is going to achieve its vision. So mainly strategy is a plan to execute the vision as well as the mission statement. All big organizations, all the companies which are there, typically if you will go to their website, you can see they have mentioned about their vision and mission statement. Strategy company doesn't provide to public domain since it's their internal execution methodology. And especially if you will go in the organization, you can see they have on the walls, you can see their at least vision where they want to go. So how this is formulated? So every year, whenever whenever the financial year of organizations or company close, which is typically, if I talk about Indian scenario, we have our financial year which close on 30th of March, 31st or 31st of March, and a new financial year start from 1st of April. While if we take the example of multinational corporation, they have their financial year aligned as per their headquarters. Typically, MNC operate into different countries, but they follow the financial year as per their head office. So let's take example of Cisco Systems. For Cisco, this month, which is July, is their year end. So they will have their new financial year from 1st of August. So typically, as per my experience, how company formulate these vision, mission, or strategy. So whenever they have new financial year coming up, what they do, they take their entire core team as well as their board members and management to a outing someplace outside. They have discussed over there what new company wants to achieve now, whether they want to make some change in their strategy, in their working condition, or what they do all kind of these planning. It is basically a lot of complex process, especially if I talk about for large organization, for MNCs, they do this entire activity while the year is closing. Because if I talk about big organization, even a small change in their process or work take lot of time since they are too big to change. Although vision statement is mostly for long-term goal achievement, and typically we see there is less change in overall vision statement. Let's move forward. So Here, for example, you can see we have the vision and mission statement of Cisco Systems. Their mission statement is to shape the future of internet by creating unprecedented value and opportunity for our customers, employee, investors, and ecosystem partners. It's what exactly they will be doing in a year. And vision, which is long-term statement, is changing the way we work, live, play, and learn. This is the example of vision and mission statement of Cisco Systems. Then we have governance. Governance is a very important part for an organization. Overall, it covers overall how they will work, what kind of it includes lot of different things. It includes policies, it includes their ethics, rules. So lot of things are there into governance. Like we have our government, there is lot of policy. Similarly, for corporate, we have corporate governance. So corporate governance is the combination of rules, process, or laws by which business are operated, regulated, and controlled. So in governance, obviously the legal laws are also included. So for example, if a company is operating in India, they have to follow laws of Indian government, which are there. So corporate governance is an overall framework with which an organization works and operate. This term include internal and external factors that can affect the interest of company, if the company interest, the stakeholder interest, which include their customers also, their suppliers also, government regulatory also, and their management team also. So governance includes entire ecosystems. It is very important to note that for information security or information security should be part of overall corporate governance, and governing body should address the risk of compromise to the information security environment. If they don't include information security in their overall corporate governance, they can have huge risk and huge loss to their business, as we will see later on. So whenever we talk about governance, I thought to share with you, like for again, it's also important from CISSP exam perspective. If you are appearing for that, you might get a question. Might. So, like in information security, we have framework of NIST, we have framework of ISO, COBIT, PCI, etc. Similarly, in case of corporate governance, we have a framework which is there by Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. This is an international body. These principles were designed to help policymakers to evaluate and improve the legal, regulatory, and institutional framework for corporate governance. So they have laid some framework which organizations can use to create their overall corporate governance methodology. These principles have been adopted by multiple international organizations as best practice for corporate governance. A lot of organizations use their principle. Recently, they have revisited their standard in year 2015. They mainly have 6 chapters for their complete framework. Like the case in CISSP, we have 8 domains. They have some 6 chapters with different methodology which they have mentioned in that. Let's understand failure of organization governance to address information security practice can have very, very long impacting effect on the company. So they should always include information security in their overall policies. So here is the list of 15 biggest data breaches faced by these organizations in 21st century. In most of the cases, their corporate governance doesn't put complete focus on information security practice. So it's very critical for an organization to put focus on information security. There is a complete detail how much money they have lost, but again, it was in millions. These company has lost, and these are among the top 21 or top 15 breaches. So many times, whenever we talk about security, this is a wonderful terminology, defense in depth. Most of the time, you will hear, especially from the salespeople, and also from overall policy perspective. So, what is defense in depth? Basically, defense in depth is also called as layer defense. It means applying multiple control to protect an asset or information. Like for example, in a company, we have multiple layer of security. At gateway level, we have our firewall with IPS, then we have our proxy, then we have our endpoint security, then we have our email security. So there are a lot of different controls which are placed. Like in the picture you can see, we have a critical data which is there, which is at the heart of this overall infrastructure or organization. And we have placed lots of different security controls. We have firewall, IPS, lot of policies. Again, we have placed a firewall. Intent is if one of the control fails or if the attacker is able to penetrate one control, at least second control is there to stop the attacker. This is the intent of defense in depth. Whenever we talk about security, it has to be designed with the approach of defense in depth. Multiple controls should be there. Since a single control can fail or can be penetrated anytime. Similarly, if I take an analogy of airport in which we have multiple security mechanism, the moment you enter a gate, we have a ticket check. Then at second layer, we have different check. Third layer, we have different check. It's part of overall defense in depth methodology. Then we have terminology, subject as well as object. So a subject is an active entity on the data. Example of subject is people accessing the data file. They will be called as subject. What is an object? An object is any passive data within the system. Typically, objects are always passive. Object can range from document such as a physical paper, database file, or text file. The important thing to remember about objects is that they are passive within the system. They do not manipulate other objects. In many situations, we can have some tricky example of subject and object, which is important to understand. For example, if you are running Chrome browser on your laptop, it is a subject because it's running in memory. If you are not using Chrome browser, it will be an object. But since it's running, it's an active entity. It will be in that case subject. So in exam, especially from exam perspective, you will get examples and you have to choose whether these are subject or object. So important from exam perspective. At least you will get one or two questions if you are preparing for your exam. Now we have forensic. So basically, forensic is a very important part of overall information security. So why forensic is required? Basically, forensic is required to recover, analyze, and preserve computer and related material, and to identify the evidence quickly, such a way that they can be presented as a evidence in court of law. Whenever we talk about forensic, typically what the intent is to collect the information and present the information in court of law. So the organization needs to have designated investigators and analysts with proper training and expertise, and they should have tools to perform digital forensics. These people can be internal employee, contractor, or external vendors. So most of the time, I have seen, especially in large organization in the banking sector, they have their forensic officers, else other organizations hire a contractor or external vendor for these kind of activity. But it is an important part of information security. Typically, the forensic team should be made of people with diverse skill set, including knowledge of networking principles, protocols, a wide range of security products, and network-based threats and attack vectors. Other teams within the organization should be available to support forensic activity. So this entire forensic thing has to be applied from top to bottom approach. Management should push this entire thing into an organization. Forensic is required for cyber crimes like hacking, intellectual property protection, or cyber fraud. So forensic can be done for laptop, desktop, for the network itself, as well as for mobile also. Since currently lot of applications and data are accessed from mobile phone, so forensic is also available for mobile, and each of them has different methodology to conduct the forensic analysis. We have digital evidence. So as per court of law, in case organization want to use digital evidence for legal action, then the digital evidence should be in certain condition, else legal court will not consider them appropriate and relevant. So there should be a proper process mechanism to collect the digital evidences. For example, an organization got recently breached and they want to take legal action against any other entity which they know which has conducted the breach in their organization, then they should collect all relevant information with properly, else court of law will not accept them as admissible and authentic. They can lose their case if proper due care as well as due diligence is not done to collect the digital evidences.